Welcome to Unit 6, Managing Project Team Conflict. Conflict is a fact of life within the project management world. It is to be expected and therefore needs to be managed. This unit examines the concept of conflict within the project environment. We will review the realities of conflict along with contributing factors of conflict. At this point, we look into conflict and how it can be resolved by examining the modes of conflict resolution and skills needed in order to effectively manage conflict. After completing this unit, you will be able to define the term conflict, explain the realities of conflict and contributing factors of conflict within the project environment. You will be able to identify the modes of conflict resolution. You will be able to assess skills needed for conflict resolution. And finally, you will be able to describe guidelines for use in addressing conflict within the project environment. To start, it's important to define what conflict is so that we're thinking from a common perspective. This definition provides an important or an appropriate perspective of conflict, which can be good or bad. In this regard, conflict helps to boost innovation and creativity. Bad conflict draws down the team's energy and can lead to distrust. In this regard, conflict is defined as the driving force for change. In general, conflict is divided into good and bad conflict. Good conflict produces new ideas, solves continuous problems, gives opportunity for people to expand skills, allows creativity, and improves performance. Bad conflict lowers team's energy or team energy and morale, reduces productivity, prevents job accomplishment, creates destructive behavior, and fosters poor performance. In terms similar in nature to the word conflict might include problem, dispute, issue, or opportunity. Each of these terms can lead to positive or negative results depending on the focus of the conflict. Symptoms of negative or bad conflict include absenteeism, complaining, finger pointing, hostility, and even physical or verbal abuse. It's true, conflict is a fact of life. As managers, we should expect conflict on our teams. Therefore, we must manage conflict in a positive manner so that it has an appropriate impact on team performance. Causes of negative conflict may include poor communications, lack of problem-solving skills, lack of leadership or management, personality differences, and even high turnover rates. The project environment can generate conflict due to the high stress environment of projects, ambiguous roles and responsibilities, multiple boss situations when working on projects, unrealistic deadlines, lack of resources, and insufficient funding. These are common attributes of many projects, resulting in an environment where conflict is quite common. The Thomas and Kilmann conflict model or mode instrument compares the level of cooperation with competitiveness to evaluate conflict resolution approaches. There are 5 approaches as part of this model: competing, accommodating, avoiding, compromising, and collaborating. Competing is a win-lose technique. This approach may be used when quick action is required or when unpopular decisions must be made. Competing is often viewed as a non-cooperative approach that will undermine the other parties or may undermine the other party's trust. Accommodating is a lose-win technique. This approach is used to show reasonableness, to create goodwill, or to keep the peace. Accommodating is often interpreted as a retreat rather than an overt strategy. Avoiding is a lose-lose technique. This approach is used to allow time for tensions to ease or buy time for a better strategy. Avoiding is often viewed as arrogance or fear. Avoiding conflict does not mean that you always avoid responsibility, however. In fact, you may end up with excessive responsibility and no authority. Compromising can be viewed as a lose-lose technique also. This approach is used when conflict is important enough to spend time needed to reach an agreement through negotiation. However, compromising often requires less time than collaborating, and as a result, neither party actually gets what they want. Finally, collaboration is a win-win technique. This approach is used to resolve important conflicts, especially those that may impact relationships. Either approach requires a certain degree of skills and focus. Collaboration requires communication and trust. Competing requires persuasion, confidence, and ultimately respect. Compromise requires negotiation and fairness. Accommodating requires the ability to listen and be gracious. And finally, avoiding requires a degree of hiding or humility. Key guidelines for use when managing conflict include: make the relationship your priority. Focus on the present, not the future. Pick your battles is very important. Be willing to forgive and know when to let something go. These references were used in developing this presentation.